Good morning. Happy Sunday. So, I have posted a photo of my breakfast, and I thought it was a great segue to go into the conversation about breakfast. First of all, breakfast doesn't have to be in the morning early, it can be later in the day, it can be at lunchtime, because breakfast means breaking the fast. So, with that in mind, everybody fasts. Generally, when we sleep, we're not eating, so we are fasting. And people that think, oh, I don't like fasting. Well, you are fasting when you're sleeping. So the difference is obviously doing it consciously for a long time or period, like a long period of time, like at least 12 hours, which would be ideal, to longer. Or people that really eat just before bed and then they sleep 7 hours and then they eat as soon as they wake up. So first of all, routine wise, I wake up and I only eat after a couple of hours. So the first things I do is meditation, and then I work out. This morning I had to do some things here at the farm, so it took me even longer. Then I work out, then I have my lemon water, then I have my green juice, which I posted, and then I have breakfast. I guess green juice actually does classify as breaking the fast because there is calories in it, but it is still quite liquid. It's liquid. There's no insoluble fiber in it, and there's no sugar. I don't put any fruit. It's only veggies. So, but still, it's still a food. So I break fast with the juice. Then after that, I prepared my green smoothie bowl, which was quite tropical. So it had bananas, mangoes inside with spinach, kale, and hemp protein. And I'm in my luteal phase, so either tomorrow or after tomorrow I shall be starting my cycle. So progesterone needs support, so a little bit more sugar, hence why more bananas and mango, and topped with nice berries and some white mulberries, which I really love. They are dried, so they're a little bit sweeter. So I hear a lot of people talk about smoothies being so bad for our hormones, so bad for women because we are insulin resistant. So I think we need to understand insulin resistance first, which is something I am a pro about because not only was I insulin resistant before I went diabetic, I had type 2 diabetes, but I reversed both. So insulin resistance is actually something that all types of diabetes have in common, even type 1, because in type 1, although the pancreas doesn't make insulin because the beta cells have been damaged by the immune system or attacked by the immune system, it's about managing how much insulin they actually need to inject, and that is done by managing insulin resistance. So if the more you eat a diet that is low fat and higher in carbs, you actually manage to teach your body what is needed. This is something that is very contrary to what a lot of people talk about when we talk about reversing diabetes. You can manage diabetes with keto diets. So you can have very low carbohydrates and a high fat. You can manage, but then the moment you have carbohydrates, you are going to spike the insulin, the glucose levels very high very quickly. So it's about teaching the body what to do first. I've learned, quite honestly, I've reversed it with a high carb, low fat diet. I've followed and I didn't know this. This was a trial and error. I knew that I wasn't gonna go and take metformin. I knew that I wasn't gonna listen to my doctor, who had no idea about nutrition. So when I was about to really look after myself and reverse diabetes, because I was feeling like crap, and I just knew I had to do something. And this was a stage in my life where I really didn't even care about being healthy. I was so depressed that I just really didn't even want to wake up in the morning, and I had adrenal fatigue on top of it. But I can also talk about the role of the adrenals in insulin resistance and diabetes, because it's very correlated and nobody talks about that. But in any case, I decided to do it that way by listening to Dr. Neil Barnard. I was listening to Dr. Joel Furman. I was listening to the Mastering Diabetes program. I was listening to John McDougall, who I had on the show as well. And he was like, you don't have diabetes. I'm like, no, I did. Honestly, he couldn't believe it because I'm obviously not like overweight. But when I actually had diabetes, I was 73 kilos or 75 kilos, which is 20 kilos more than I am now. So it's quite a bit, almost 20 kilos. So quite a bit. And my body just is generally not very good at metabolizing fat. So all the fats I was having was just clogging up. But on top of that, the adrenal fatigue meant high cortisol all the time, and I definitely had that all the time, which increases blood glucose naturally. Then my liver was clogged up. So I was a hot mess, and I had to really think how I'm going to do this. And I did it this way. I did it with high carbs, low fat, and I still kind of maintain that. I mean, for the past couple of months, I had more fats. Like, I introduced nuts, which I didn't have for a long time, tahini, things like that. And it's just to experiment with my hormones, really. And I must say that when I have too many fats, they are addictive, so my body craves them more than I crave anything else, which is insane, because normally, like, when you crave sugar, I don't crave any carbs. Like, I don't crave bread and pasta. I had none of it. But the fats, I started craving fats, and I thought, that's interesting, but also I don't feel great with them. So I feel like I'm bloated. I actually retain more water. It's interesting, but this is what happens to me. So I started scaling it down and seeing what actually was. And so when I hear a lot of the practitioners and even doctors that talk about us women becoming more insulin resistant with age, which is true, because as estrogen goes down, that happens mostly because our adrenals are also fatigued most of the time. We live in a very stressful world, but also we tend to then go into these ketogenic diets, higher fat. We cut the carbs. We don't have a good microbiome if we don't feed it fiber. And sometimes we have digestive issues because our microbiome is already in dysbiosis and nobody's actually tackling that issue first. So you have to look at the puzzle and put things together. So it can seem confusing, but it's really about stripping it out and say, okay, I'm going to fix the gut, and I'm going to slowly, look at what happens in the body, all the systems working together. Then there is also, I think the problem is people are obsessed with spikes, and they don't understand that it's a physiological, normal thing to have a raise in glucose when you eat, period. Yes, you can have no carbs, and then you see a very small spike, but that's not a normal diet, and it's also telling the body that what you're doing is wrong. Like, the body knows what it's doing. So the way to do this is to make sure that we have the right food. And when we have too much fat in our body, the fat goes everywhere, including into muscle cells. That's when the problem comes in. Like, the glucose cannot get into the cells efficiently when we have too much fat. So it stays in the blood, it raises the blood glucose and stays longer higher when it should go down after a couple of hours. So we have to really understand those mechanisms, and it is easy to make sure that we can tackle them. So when people talk about, these doctors talk about not having fruit, not having smoothies, this is in the realm of what else they're eating, and they're promoting a lot of animal products, even with dairy. Like, dairy is 75% is fat. So if you need protein, you can get protein from other places that don't have as much fat, number one. If you need probiotics, you can get water kefir, coconut kefir. Now, coconut is a funny one because it's a saturated fat. So if you are at risk of cardiovascular disease, you want to maybe not have such fats in your diet. And also, depending how you work with them, I certainly have to be very careful with coconut. So I don't really have coconut products much at all, aside from the water. But those things I know about my body. So listening to your body is important. But also understanding then, if we reduce the fats, and also we eliminate oils, as I mentioned in my other video about the vegetable oils, and we opt for whole fats, which come with the fiber, which come with everything else in it, and it's not just pure fat, there's a massive shift in our body and how we react to the macronutrients that are coming into it. And I'm also really focused on micronutrients, so making sure I bring as much as I can inside the body. And within this, there is the fasting time. So I don't have any animal products, and I'm really trying to teach women how to regulate the hormones on a plant-based diet for many reasons. Of course, I'm an ethical vegan, so I care. And to me, it's like, well, let's look at the world. We want the world to be sustainable. The majority of the world are women. So if we change and shift, we're already making a big impact. And if we are healthier as women, there's even a better impact, because I really think that women make way better decisions, no offense to men, than men, because we don't have that 15 minutes spikes of testosterone. We actually have the time to really go through a cycle, and life is about cycles. So our decisions can be made at the right time in the right way. If society allowed us to do that, even at work, right? So when we are in our luteal phase, work shouldn't ask us to do crazy things, traveling and working hard and having hard meetings and making decisions. Leave that for ovulation, and maybe even for uh, ovulation is the best time to really do anything. But even if you're in follicular right after your period, you actually can make better decisions. Like you can plan during that time, and then at ovulation you go for it. So we have a beautiful way to do this, and we can do it. So when it comes to food, you really need to reflect that. So if I'm in luteal phase, so my food will be higher sugar, higher carbs from fruit, and I will then, as soon as I start bleeding from day 2, even longer fasts, lower carbs. So I don't have bananas, I don't have mangoes. I stick to like the greens and the berries every day, all day, every day. I can have berries. Apples, I'm obsessed with right now. The pink ladies are my favorite. So I chop them and I sprinkle with cinnamon. By the way, cinnamon, superfood to have every day, because if you buy Ceylon cinnamon, which is non-toxic, you can really enjoy having an amazing, it really regulates your blood sugar actually. And of course, if you then have to talk about insulin resistance you might be going through, this is a conversation to have with your practitioners, which is why in the blueprint I actually teach what questions to ask and what to do even. So if people work with me, I tell them what to do, the phases to go through. A CGM is helpful at the beginning just to see what your body's doing. But I also tell people we can do it at the beginning, then you have to stick to the protocol, and then you do it again after, because your body will change the way that it's reacting to fructose, to the fruit, to the sugar, and you are going to respond differently to it. At the beginning, if you have a piece of meat and you have sweet potato, let me tell you, and then we blame the sweet potato. And so let's just we have to really think about those things. So I thought showing you my breakfast, it would be nice to actually have this conversation here, mentioning that smoothies are not bad for you. Now, of course, if you have a smoothie and you gulp it down, which I am super guilty of, could be a problem. Like it's a lot of carbs coming in, and of course you can spike your things quickly. You have to pre-digest in your mouth. So this is also why I top it with other fruit and I can eat it, so that I'm not drinking the smoothie straight away. I'm actually eating the smoothie so that the amylase into the saliva can start breaking down things, and that makes a massive difference on digestion. So yeah, if this is helpful for you, and if you have any questions, please do ask, because this is all about sharing and educating. So see you soon. Bye.